Right, welcome back to For the Love of Star Wars. Each week we invite a guest on to join us in exploring a piece of Star Wars media that means something special to them. Our special guest this week is a great friend and supporter of the channel, a toy collector and someone who knows his way around a Star Wars chat. It is none other than Scott Whitehouse.
Scott.
Scott, how
Hi
you doing?
guys, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks,
Great
mate.
to
Good
have
to
you on.
see you.
Right, Scott, let's get straight into it. What
Okay.
episode of Star Wars media have you chosen for us today?
Unsurprisingly, I've chosen something from Andor, season 2. This year's episode, and it's episode. I think it's episode 10. Make It Stop.
Absolutely a brilliant choice. Yeah, that is a intense, emotional, and brilliantly acted episode, which was directed by Alonso Ruiz Palacios. For anyone that didn't know, hasn't done a great deal of things that I've heard of, to be honest. And it was written by Tom Bissell. Again, not heard of much that he's done. Rotten Tomatoes. We're doing Rotten Tomatoes critic scores. A perfect 100%.
Wow.
But that's because when they do the episodes on Rotten Tomatoes, you don't get as many people reviewing it. So 7 people reviewed that. So I've gone over to IMDb, our old friend, where it had an excellent 9.4 out of 10.
Really?
That's very good. IMDb.
No Cassian Andor in this episode. It's centered entirely around Luthen and Claire. So Scott, what is it that you love about Make It Stop?
Well, I mean, God, where can you start? It's kind of the culmination of Luthen's story, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's not only the culmination of 2 seasons, but we get the flashbacks, so we learn about where he came from and how he met Claire. But it also ties directly into Rogue One and straight into Star Wars, because it's the first time really that Luthen learns, and then there's kind of a domino effect right through to Princess Leia of the Death Star. You know, it's not called, they don't call it the Death Star, but it's the super weapon, and those various components are put together. And so it's just, you know, it's immensely important in Star Wars history, I suppose, in terms of the chronology of what's going on. But it is just just a roller coaster episode. It's moving, it's brilliantly acted. Everything that you've said, it's emotional. You know, it's just come on the back of the Gorman arc, which was fantastic, and it picks up from there. And you don't really know what's going to happen. You know where the story of the season's going ultimately, but you don't know what's going to happen in this episode. And it's just absolutely perfectly put together. It's perfectly pitched. It deserves that 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin, what were your thoughts?
Well, this is hands down my favourite episode of Andor. It's an incredible piece of television. It really, really is. And the thing that I rewatched it before we did this again for the 3rd or 4th time, and the thing that struck me straight away that hadn't struck me before is knowing what's going to happen now. The tension during this episode, even though you know what's going to happen because you've seen it, it starts off with that bell ringing from the radio, the secret radio they've got in the shop, and from that moment she's just stood in the doorway, realizing that that's the major alert alarm. From that moment, it's just pure unadulterated tension from that moment right to the end of the episode. And I'm sure we'll get into, you know, beats within the episode, but for me, this is hands down the greatest episode of Andor.
Yeah, it's got a very different feel to it. As we've always said about this series, is there's only so much of it that feels like Star Wars. So I guess to pick it as your favorite ever Star Wars episode, it's tricky because it doesn't have those elements of Jedi and whatnot. So, but that's one thing that this series did so well, and we didn't miss at all, really, did we, Scott? It worked.
Feels entirely authentically Star Wars to me. You know, it's you know, it's telling that origin story really, or part of it, and so yeah, it doesn't. For this component of the story, it doesn't need Jedi and X-wings and Wookiees and things. It's telling this story, and it's doing it absolutely brilliantly. It's about the storytelling. The quality of the storytelling is just phenomenal.
Yeah. So it starts with that meeting with Lonnie on the park bench, essentially, doesn't it? That's when things start, kicking off, and they have that exchange between Luthen and Lonnie. How did you feel about that meeting?
Well, there's a sense of foreboding at the very start of it. You can see it in, the way it's edited. You see Lonnie leaving the ISB building and the look on his face, and he's got that, he's kind of he's walking quickly, but he's trying not to look like he's walking quickly. It's, he's got it, and Claire knows and Luthen knows, because it's the big bell. He says, "You rang the big bell," and when he starts to explain what's going on, and it's even more important than the fact that they're after Luthen. He's discovered something else, and as it builds, and I think the first time I watched it, I was surprised and sad that Lonnie, who'd brought the information about the Death Star and the people responsible for designing it and constructing it, he brought that to Luthen, ends up shot and dead on a park bench, essentially. But when you watch it back and you watch it more, you can see that, you can almost see the cogs in Luthen's brain working, and he's teasing from Lonnie and telling him what he wants him to hear, and he even tells him Yavin, which is almost like saying, "I'm now definitely going to have to kill you because I can't take you," and it's phenomenal and brilliantly acted by both of them. Robert Ems deserves real sort of recognition for an absolutely brilliant performance throughout the show, really playing this really, really crucial character who's so important to the rebellion. It's such an important and such a brilliantly made scene, and you don't quite know he's killed him. The music, the tone changes, and Luthen's coming down those steps with a grim look on his face, and then it cuts back to a beautifully shot sort of image across the water, and there's Lonnie, some poor guy slumped over, and a Lothcat pouring at him. It's just brilliant.
Was it 100% necessary to kill Lonnie off then? Yeah, Martin?
Oh, I think so. I mean, the way it's filmed, it's very, very similar to, and I can't put my finger on it. I'm thinking maybe JFK, but it's very similar to the sort of 70s espionage, government espionage thrillers that you'd get in the 1970s, and the scene with him on the park bench is very reminiscent of the scene between Kevin Costner and Donald Sutherland in JFK.
Definitely.
So, and I think it's very purposely filmed that way as well. And Scott quite rightly said Lonnie was never going to make this out of this alive, and we knew that from season one. I think we could probably have made that call. And I think yes, we've come to know Luthen over 2 seasons, and I don't think anyone would have any doubt that he doesn't leave any loose ends. He's ruthless in his ambition to bring down the Empire, and regardless of who's helped him in the past, Lonnie was always going to bite the bullet. And essentially Lonnie's usefulness was no longer any use to him, because he was about to be found out himself. So I think it played out exactly as I expected it to.
So do you think the reason that they couldn't take him to Yavin ultimately is because they knew about him from the ISB side of things?
Well, I mean, he knew the ISB were after him. So he's Luthen in my mind is playing out all the scenarios, and one of the scenarios would be they capture Lonnie before they could get him to Yavin. He's told him that where Yavin is, and it wouldn't take much for them to be able to get that information from Lonnie, and then he's put the entire rebellion at risk. So that would be my reasoning behind that. I don't know if Scott agrees.
Yeah, well, I think Lonnie seals his own fate, because he says they're going to come at you with everything they've got. Assume they're coming now. And so that's telling Luthen there's no time to get my family and to get them to the safe house, say, because there's no reason in theory that you couldn't get them to the safe house and then get them picked up and taken away. Which is obviously Luthen and Claire's plan. But I think he sealed his own fate in that sense. I think Luthen would have taken them if he could have done. I don't think he'd have murdered him, and basically probably the wife and child have been discovered, and goodness knows what their fate would have been. But I just don't think he had a choice at that point, because they had to get back, destroy the shop, and get out.
Yeah, well, let's move on to the antique shop then, and the scene with Dedra, the confrontation in the antique shop. So tense, and an amazing, an amazing bit of dialogue between the two. It's really quite something else. What did you think, Scott?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, again, you just move from one brilliant scene straight onto another brilliant scene. Fantastic. I know there's been some criticism. Oh, why didn't they all storm in at once and prevent him from stabbing himself and such like? But they created fantastic drama in that scene, and it was perfect to put your two, you know, your protagonist, your antagonist together like that, to have that final confrontation. And she, and it starts off, they're both, I mean, there are only two things of questionable provenance in the shop, he says, doesn't he, referring to the two of them. I mean, it's an absolutely brilliant line. But that's, he's playing the sort of the smug character that he puts on, and she's incredibly smug.
Yeah.
And I think some of the dialogue, I mean, it's all so good that the moment she gets out the Star Path unit and plonks it down, and his expression, and he doesn't speak, and she then starts speaking, but he kind of gets his composure back and starts in on her.
The rebellion isn't here anymore. It's flown away. It's everywhere now. There's a whole galaxy out there waiting to disgust you.
Yeah. Says to her. It's just brilliantly written. I thought absolutely fantastic.
Brilliantly written and brilliantly performed, Martin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. I've not heard that there's been criticism about why didn't they storm the place, because I think it's totally to Dedra's character that
it's her arrogance, isn't
exactly.
it?
For 5 years, she's been hunting Axis, and she's probably been practicing this for 5 years, what she'd do when she captured him, and she wants him to be. She wants him basically to turn around and say, "Oh, you got the better of me," but she hasn't learned. And it's quite interesting as well. This just popped into my head that there's a classic line from Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi: "Overconfidence is your weakness," and that is pretty much sums up her issue here with Luthen. If she'd have just arrested him without him knowing as he was entering the shop or something like that, they would have had the radio and they would have had him alive to be able to interrogate, and the whole House of Cards would have come tumbling down. But brilliant.
It wouldn't work dramatically to do that. I mean, it is a drama, and in Star Wars, the villains face off with the heroes. That's what happens in Star Wars, and that's what we get there, isn't it? In an unconventional, typically Andor unconventional way, that ends up with him sort of committing suicide, and and her getting thrown in jail by her own side, which is brilliant.
Yeah. And then we obviously see Claire finding Luthen as he goes to the hospital, and we get the flashback scenes. How did they play out for you? Did you enjoy those, Scott?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, it was great to find out a little bit more about where they came from. I suppose we all suspected he'd picked her up somewhere along the way. So it's quite interesting to see. And they don't give a lot away. He's obviously an Imperial sergeant involved in some sort of massacre somewhere, and he's having a breakdown, isn't he? He's seen enough killing. They've just killed 50 civilians in a basement or something. It's just happened. You can hear it going on. You can hear women and children screaming, can't you? In the outside the ship. And that moment he's having a breakdown, and I suppose she saves him from it, because here's his opportunity at redemption, to save this one person, and then they begin this sort of this slow journey of revenge that that leads to Luke Skywalker being able to destroy the Death Star, basically.
Yeah, he realizes what side he wants to choose, doesn't he? At this point, Martin.
Yeah. I mean, I put in the notes that basically they show how over time he taught her how to be a revolutionary, and how she ultimately surpassed him. Because she was the one who became more ruthless than he was, and she became more level-headed as the series went on.
Yeah.
And in this episode, she, we'll get onto obviously the scene later on, but she does show emotion, but it's it's through gritted teeth emotion, even though she does have it. And she's got this task she has to do, and it's because of what he taught her, I think more than anything else, and what she went through. And Scott's right; those flashbacks were very, very short, but they were really informative. The snippets that they did show, and I think when you tie those with everything we've seen in season 2 with Claire, it really gives you a really well woven character. Where she came from and where she is now, and then by the end of the series, perhaps where we think she's going to go. So yeah, I mean, that was just absolutely incredible. I mean, I loved seeing Naboo as well. I mean, just throwing those little Easter eggs out there for me is absolutely great. So yeah, the flashbacks were excellently done, and I actually think I appreciated them more the second time I watched this than I did the first time, because I was kind of a bit impatient perhaps the first time, where I was like, oh, get away from the flashbacks, I want to see, like, what's going on with Luthen. You know? but as you're watching it second or third time, you come to appreciate the story a bit more, and the character.
Well, they really did like intertwine the flashbacks quite beautifully with the hospital raid, I suppose, with Claire's raid on the hospital. Talk about the tension on that part of it. So you're going from the flashback scenes, which aren't so tense, back to Claire's time going through the hospital, which was completely tense. Scott, how did you enjoy all of that?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's you're biting your nails watching, aren't you? What's going to happen? Is she going to get? I mean, she's incredibly professional from the moment. They allow a moment of reflection when she's in the safe house. Then she's getting the bag down and she's getting into the kit, getting her hair ready and everything. And the way she marches out of the safe house, she's on that mission and she goes into everything. She's planned everything. It's just brilliant. She knows what she's going to do. I don't think the first time I was watching it, I was 100% sure she was going to kill him, but it makes total sense. And as I've rewatched it, I've realised, that's obviously going to be where it's going. But it's incredible. They even they're able to have those moments of levity in it, because there's the little sort of wheelchair bound creature. And that moment in the lift, I always laugh out loud. That moment in the lift where it kind of goes, and she says, "What?" That's absolutely brilliant. She's really annoyed that this thing has spoken.
But there was some. Go on. Sorry.
No. I suppose there's other moments, like when they get to the one floor and there's the ISB guy there, and he's just like some half-assed British person, isn't he? And he's just, sorry, love, you can't go up there. And so it's got it. It's not entirely. It kind of relieves a bit of the tension sometimes. Some of that. And it's really clever. It's not. They're not gags, but they're clever and a bit of fun.
But Claire really played, or the actress really played the part so well. But it was also really well directed as well. Some of the shots that they used in the hospital raid, Martin, were so good, weren't they?
I mean, they
just such good choices.
I think a big part of that as well, the way the design of the hospital floors, because they were in a U shape, so you could always see what was happening across the other side of the hospital, and that was a really clever. And then of course you had the double-sided mirror where Luthen was, so there was really clever tricks played with the camera work. So whenever a character was somewhere, the other character could always see where that character was, and the camera was used in such a way that you were the eyes of that other person. It was really, really well done. And I mean, it's well known my admiration for the MVP Claire. I think she steals this entire show, not just this episode, but this entire show, as far as I'm concerned, and just absolutely immense. I mean, she dispatches everyone she wants to dispatch with such methodical ease. I mean, it was incredible to watch. It was like watching a trained assassin, but all we've seen of her really is someone who works in a shop or communicates with people on a radio. But we've discovered now through these flashbacks and this scene that she's always had this capability, and she's learned this from Luthen. And going back to earlier in the episode, I think a lot was said with just their eyes between Luthen and Claire when they were together.
Enough. Just promise me if it doesn't look perfect, you won't engage.
I think we used up all the perfect. Move.
Tuck your shirt in.
And I think if you go back and you watch the scene where they're on the stairs and they're arguing about who's going back to the shop, they just said with his eyes, and she understood that if he was captured and he wasn't killed, that it was up to her to make sure that they didn't get any information from him.
ISB Krennic, Galen, Ursa.
And you know where to go.
No, I'm doing the comms.
No, you're not.
I'll be faster.
I'll do the burn. Please don't argue. Just be waiting for me. Just be there. Go.
And I genuinely believe that was directed that way. I might be wrong, but I
I agree.
I think it's. You say the director of this episode, you know, we don't know he's done a huge amount. Did you say? But he did an absolutely masterful
mostly
job.
foreign stuff. Yeah,
he did a masterful job.
He was brilliant.
Yeah, really good. So yeah, and then obviously, you know, within that hospital scene, we had Deirdre, you know, getting arrested by the ISB. I thought that was a great scene because she was in total shock, Scott, that she, you know, she thought she'd done the brilliant thing, but you know, she hadn't learned.
She hadn't realised what was going on. That I mean, but you know, there's the point at which Partagas has a realisation that Lonnie's been. You know, he gets told that Lonnie's been killed, and then Deirdre's mission's gone wrong, and there's like kind of they don't give you mere seconds that he's putting the two together.
Yeah.
So, but at that point, she's really screwed up. And, you know, I guess once they start digging into that, and that's what happens in subsequent episode when she's interrogated by Krennic, that they discover what's been happening. And she's considered to have been, or thought to have been complicit in it as well. So, yeah, she hasn't got a clue because she's quite smug. Again, you talk about that U-shaped hospital. When you see Hirt and the ISB marshal and the attendant turn up, and they're both walking striding towards each other. Yeah. And here he's quite a short guy, and he's kind of toddling along as quick as he can to get her arrested. And it's quite amusing because they're watching each other, and she's smug as anything about to get there. And then this guy comes and carts her off. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
And then there's that little, like I say, there's little moments of little tiny moment of levity where he turns around and says, "You waited for my day off." You know,
it's brilliant. I love that line.
Throwaway line, but it really like just broke the tension of the moment, and masterful. I mean, Tony Gilroy and the writers of this show. I mean, please give them some keys to some more series so that we can get more stuff. You know, this whole season was just incredible. This is in my opinion, is the diamond of the season, but. There's some other episodes that are very, very close to this, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, you talk about the bit where Deirdre gets arrested, and you think that is the ISB almost messing up again, isn't it? Because you know that Deirdre would be just stood guard of Luthen, you know, until he's awake. So the ISB, without realising it, they're messing up once again, aren't they, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. They just leave a bunch of grunts and stormtroopers there on the floor, don't they? There's no officer, there's no one in charge of them, and they all run off after the diversion of the shuttlecraft exploding, and just leave the two guys there, and it's brilliant because she's in and out really quickly, actually. You know, because you get the moment that she pauses and the flashback to Naboo, which is, you know, really really perfect symmetry because it's all about. He presses the button and blows up the vehicles on the bridge there, and she pauses like she did on Naboo, but then she goes ahead and does it. But then when she actually, you know, that what first bunch run past her, and then she takes that one stormtrooper down, which is just it's like Jason Bourne or something, isn't it? And then the other guy they obviously got one guy in the room with Luthen because he's just come out of there, and she takes him out, and that's it. She's free to sort of do what she's got to do, you know, and have a moment, and she's out again before they've come back. It's it's masterful. But yeah, the ISB have really screwed up. So poor old Hartigan. You know, I felt sort of, you know, how you can feel sorry for baddies. I kind of feel sorry for him at the end of.
Well, he was brilliant in it,
at
wasn't
the end of the
he?
season. But yeah, he's presided over a balls up, really, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And another shining star in the series, though, wasn't he? He was such a good actor throughout.
Fantastic performance. I really hope we get a TVC figure of him.
Yeah.
Get him on a card back. Come on, Hasbro. I'd like that whole office. I'd like that whole room and just fill it with them. I'd take the loss. It's great.
It would be great.
I don't think it'll happen.
Let's talk a little bit about the music, because that was quite important in sort of shaping the emotional impact of the episode, don't you think? Definitely. Martin, you can take this one if you want.
Okay, well, no, I mean, as I say, it starts off with that eerie music to start with at the start of the episode, and then it gets quite orchestral. But even the orchestral music has like a classicness to it, you know, like we were watching an opera or something like that. It's I can't quite put my finger on it, but it felt grand what we were watching. It didn't feel like a TV show. It felt like the music was portraying an important moment in a history of something that we've wanted to know what's happened, you know, for the last 10 years since Rogue One. We're coming to this crescendo moment where we're going to start seeing the stone falling down the hill and turning into an avalanche. Wow, that was really impressive. I was quite impressed with that. But yeah, it was the music was fantastic, and I'm ashamed to say I didn't look up who did the music for the episode. I don't suppose you did you, Adam?
Oh,
I didn't actually. No.
That's going to look good.
Scott, have you got that one?
I haven't. I know it was a different guy. Obviously, they're still using Andor themes from the first year, but there's another guy who took over, isn't there? I forget his name, but he does a really good job.
Yeah.
He does a great job, you know, using the themes, but bringing in new elements. I mean, it does build up. There's quite a sort of a beat at one point, you know, as she's getting close to the sort of like those final moments, but then immediately it changes to this really soft, gentle music as the life support goes off, and as the episode ends, and it's just Luthen fades to black, and the music that goes on through the credits is absolutely beautiful piece of sort of, as you say, very classical, but you know, sorrowful sort of piece of music, really, that, you know, worthy of the gravitas of the moment. Really, he's such an important character in the show, and you know, really, if you know, in the wider Star Wars story.
Yeah, I think it's great that you brought that moment up, actually, because I think we do need to talk about that for a bit. The scene where she turns off the life support, because, you know, she was always going to do it. There was never any hesitation, I don't think. But do you think, Scott, that perhaps there was, because I've read stories where the actors have said this wasn't the case, but I genuinely feel there was a father-daughter relationship, however dysfunctional. There was a father-daughter relationship between the two of them, and I think she did feel genuine sadness at having to do what she had to do. Did you get that at all?
Absolutely, yeah. Of course. I mean, you know, they make that remark in the second flashback. Am I your daughter now? And he kind of throws it off, but
when you need to be.
When you need to be. But it's obvious that that's the kind of relationship that seems to be occurring with them. That the next time where she you know, ignores him and witnesses the execution, you know, but then rejoins him, and you know, and then later on he's trying to protect her on Naboo. He's giving her a choice as to whether this is what they're going to do or not, in a way. Whether he wouldn't have done it, I think he would have still blown those things up. But he was kind of testing her, and he was giving her the choice. And so the whole thing's sort of about those choices, isn't it? Throughout, she kind of acts like a doting daughter a little bit. I mean, I hope, you know, you better be ready, she says at the start when he's going, and then she just took your shirt in. I mean, this is it's more than she's certainly not, you know, a member of staff. She's more than a colleague. You know, there's an emotional connection, isn't there, between them? Absolutely. And she's in tears at that moment.
But as soon as she walks out, that's it. She kind of back
That's
into
it. It's kind of
mission
wipes
mode.
the face.
Yeah, back into mission mode. And I think it's really important as well that you know that you mentioned this, and that they did it, as a beat where they very slowly sort of zoomed away from the table when he was dead on it, and then, as you said, fade to black, because the man, although in future episodes we discover that no one held him in high esteem at all, but I think you can't argue as well that the man on the table who's died basically is responsible pretty much entirely for the Rebel Alliance being created. Obviously, Mon Mothma and several others had a big part to play, but he was the one who brought all the strands together and started, who lit the spark, if you like, to steal a phrase from another movie we won't talk about. But yeah, I think that was a really important moment, because as a viewer, I wanted that to be recognized, and it was great that it was recognized.
Yeah, it's great in the next episode, or it's the final episode, where Cassian really stands up for him, and they've had a kind of a parting of the ways a couple of years previously, sort of chronologically, but he really stands up for him, and all those people that are ready to dismiss him. Where were they when Luthen was starting the rebellion off, and working with on Mon Mothma and others? He obviously didn't have much of a relationship with Bail Organa at any point, so there were other people involved in the rebellion that didn't connect with Luthen, but he's still absolutely critical, and it's it's good that that's recognised, and that's for the audience. It's recognised, but then later on with Cassian, fighting his corner is brilliant.
Definitely,
absolutely. Right, Scott, we've probably covered it, but tell us, final question: what makes this feel like Star Wars to you?
Oh wow, well. The thing for me about Andor is that it's part of my favourite era of Star Wars. It's intrinsically connected to the Star Wars of my childhood. It looks like it. It feels like it. It's grubby. Yeah. It's a little bit 1970s, and it's connected. It's linked into that story. It's absolutely linked into those stories. The events are relevant to the stories, they lead into it, and it's just that's what I love about it. It feels like Star Wars to me entirely. And I know that's not an opinion shared by everyone, but it feels absolutely authentic to me.
Yeah,
here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's it then for today, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about that. It's just such a good episode, isn't it?
It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
It's brilliant. For everyone watching, what stood out to you in this episode? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. We will be back with another guest very soon. I'm off to work on my antique shop small talk skills, just in case the ISB drops by. We'll catch you next time. See you later.
Bye.